Okay, I've had mixed feelings about how to cover this next story, and I'll explain why. I did a couple of stories in the last month about Donald Trump starting to talk about how he likes the idea of the death penalty for drug related crimes. And it's a relevant story in that, listen, if the president wants to do something so depraved, so counterproductive, so ludicrous, but at the same time, Trump can't unilaterally change the law to put in the death penalty for more drug crimes. How much time should I really spend talking about it? I want to let you know that Trump wants to start killing people for drug related crimes, but I also don't want to make it seem like Trump can just unilaterally change the law and give it more attention than it requires. So with that exact same caveat, today I'm reporting you that Trump's beleaguered, that's to use Trump's own term, Trump's beleaguered Attorney General Jeff Sessions is now instructing federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty in drug cases. So, okay, that's what Jeff Sessions is saying, but what does that mean and how would it actually work? Because as far as crimes go, Trump has said he wants to execute opioid dealers and traffickers, and Sessions told federal prosecutors, ask for the death penalty when you see it as appropriate. But you can't just do that whenever you want, right? There is so much nonsense here that it's tough to know where to start. Number one, there aren't many federal death penalty cases, right? Most death penalty cases are state cases. There are only 61 prisoners in the entire country that are on federal death row. Mostly it's states imposing the death penalty. Secondly, starting to pursue the death penalty federally, it's going to be very, very expensive. It's not fiscally conservative in any way. Federal death penalty cases, like all death penalty cases, take a lot longer. They cost a lot more money. So if the idea is fiscal conservatism, it's going to be a move in the opposite direction. But the big problem is this thing, this very complicated thing called the law, which hasn't changed. And the law limits the death penalty for drug-related cases really, really narrowly. To seek the death penalty in a drug case, you need either a case where a firearm resulted in a death during a drug trafficking crime, a case where a murder was committed as part of a criminal enterprise that could have included drug trafficking. It has to be a case involving racketeering or a case involving just an absurd, gigantic quantity of drugs, which are not the most common scenarios. So on the one hand, I want to discuss with you that the Trump administration is pushing horrible policy. But on the other hand, they just don't really have the power to arbitrarily do this. All they can really do is, in cases that already could qualify for the death penalty, tell prosecutors to ask for it instead of long prison sentences. And of course, it would also be up to the prosecutors to figure out whether they think that's even something that they could get. And that's an uphill battle to climb as well. You've really got to thread the needle very precisely here. And I also hate to break it to these supposed law and order conservatives, but even stricter penalties for drug crimes, if they were legally possible, aren't going to fix the problem, right? The drug war, fighting the war on drugs as a criminal justice issue, as a law enforcement issue, rather than as a health issue and a legalization issue, got us into this mess to begin with, right? So we've got to stop looking at this issue as a criminal law enforcement issue if we really want to fix it. And I also started thinking, if you're a drug dealer and you've got nothing left to lose because the police are closing in on you, and you know you might get the death penalty just for the trafficking, wouldn't that encourage you to try to shoot your way out and maybe kill a police officer or innocent bystander anyway? Because listen, in the end, either way you might be facing the death penalty. It makes no sense. There's no dumber idea as far as the drug war is concerned. The one bit of good news is that Trump saying this and Sessions saying this aren't going to lead to any major changes in the actual law. And so that's about as far as I'm going to go with it. If we actually start to see an effort to change the law, then you can rest assured I'm going to come back and talk to you about it. Today's episode of The David Pakman Show is made possible in part by Brilliant, which is a great online service that allows you to master concepts in math, science, and engineering by solving fun and challenging problems. And unlike other learning sites, when I'm using Brilliant, I'm learning by working hands-on with real-world scenarios and problems. You solve challenging puzzles that have been designed by expert educators and professionals from all over the world. They don't move too fast. They don't move too slowly. They take you step by step through the topics you're interested in at your own pace. And one of their principles is effective learning is active. Watching YouTube videos, which is great, by the way, I encourage it and I do it all the time. That's a more passive form of learning. That gets you so far. That's when Brilliant comes in, and you're learning not by watching, but by actually doing. And you can get started right now at brilliant.org/David Pakman. First 200 to visit the website, brilliant.org/David Pakman, will get 20% off an annual premium membership, but of course, sign up for free at brilliant.org/David Pakman.